Today's video is sponsored by Figure, the largest non-bank home equity loan lender in the US, with over $15 billion unlocked on their lending platform. They're now in the crypto-backed loan space and offering industry-low interest rates when you use your Bitcoin as collateral to get cash. Access interest rates starting at 9.9%, the lowest fixed rate in the industry at 50% LTVs. Whether you're funding a major purchase like a down payment on a home, investing in new opportunities, or even buying more Bitcoin, Figure makes it straightforward and transparent. Visit figure.com/Real Vision or click on my link below to take out a Bitcoin-backed loan with Figure today.
Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Trading the Markets. I'm Bijan Maleki, and of course, I'm joined by Kris Bullock, aka Blasto Plas. Guys, this is the episode where we talk about the markets, what trades are on our mind. So if you guys have any questions or any charts you want us to look at live on air, just drop your questions in the live chat on X or on platform, and we'll get to as many as we can. Another reminder as well, Andreas Stino is back for his monthly State of the Union, where he walks us through his latest pro portfolio updates and how his trades have been doing. And we've also got another Solana deep dive that dropped on our platform for our pro tier. Ash sits down with the CEO and CTO of Sol Strategies to discuss the Solana ecosystem. So make sure you check those out. And if you're not a pro member, make sure you upgrade, because we got a lot of fantastic content for our pro tier, as well as our crypto dashboards from Jamie Coots. So definitely give those a try if you haven't already. And as always, we discuss this all day, every day in our Discord. So if you're not in our Discord, join us so you can continue the conversation. And also note, this is not financial advice. We're just, a degen and a technical analyst talking about what interests us. So if you find something that interests you, we implore you to do further research. As one of our members often says, crispy Dior, do your own research. So without further ado, Kris, how you doing? What's on your mind as we have this hump day on our hands?
Doing really good. It's been a fun week. Kind of the theme for this week appears to be coiling just across the board. Every chart looks just like it's ready to launch, and we're seeing a lot of meme coins, not meme coins, but altcoins in general, a bit outpacing Bitcoin on the week. And so I'm seeing some green everywhere, and it's pretty cool. Like if we look at just the Bitcoin chart here, the perfect example of this is it's just been riding up along this 10-day moving average and butting up against sort of the initial cycle high that it set here back on June 9th, and just pushing up against it. And there's only so many times it's going to do that before it's going to break out. And when you look at a lot of the other assets in the watch list and in the space, they all kind of look like this. They're all in one form or another just pushing up against resistance and looking like they're ready to pop. And that's combined with a lot of really low volatility, like a lot of just sideways price action for really the last month plus. And so that's where we're getting this sort of coiling effect where, the Bollinger Bands are squeezed really tight and everything is just again, ready to go. So I wanted to start with Bitcoin by looking at it here, but then I wanted to talk about actually Ethereum, because we've been talking about this ETH Bitcoin chart for quite some time. And this is continuing to show strength, a little bit to my surprise even. I know I keep talking about we need to get above this yellow line here and truly set a higher high before it's going to get my attention. But it's doing all the right things in the meantime. Like, it's continuing to hold this 10-week moving average as support. And honestly, right now, if it can hold the level it's at, it will be the highest weekly close that it's had since this initial, bottoming pattern started. So it's on its way to, continuing to produce, continuing to move in the right direction, continuing to outpace Bitcoin just slightly, but, outpace Bitcoin at least over the last month plus. And so it hasn't broken down, and that's good. And I know I compare it a lot to like this other structure that happened just about a year ago, that's very, very similar to what we're seeing right now. And as you can see, it's done sort of the similar thing a number of times and then just continued to just break down and go on and set lower lows. And so I'm still wary of that. But the fact that, we're, what is this, probably 8+ weeks in now, and we're actually continuing to inch slightly higher highs is already a little bit better than what we've seen previously. Again, if you go back and look at this previous structure, it never really did that. Like, it had the initial high, but then kind of it already started bleeding pretty much immediately after that. Whereas this, it's managing to hold up. So cautiously optimistic on Ethereum. I think it's pretty interesting. And I think that if Ethereum can continue to hold this strength and actually go on and set a higher high here, that's going to be really, really really good sign for the alt space, rather. And so I'm excited for that. Again, it's still early days, but I think that this is really something to pay attention to, and I'm enjoying watching it unfold here. So yeah. Outside of that, we've got a bunch of just random little stuff I know we can touch on. I want to actually start with another one, XRP, though, because XRP actually is showing a lot of surprising strength right now too. I like to use this trading alpha indicator, and we're seeing steady run up, steady green dots, and now we've got sort of up with a bullet, basically, is sort of kind of what this green arrow means, which is showing it's a lot of strength. It's a thrust indicator, and I think it's on its way to sort of breaking out of this structure. Like I said, with a lot of these, we've been going flat for a while on a lot of these, and we've got a bullet here. Same thing with SPX. Also, we've got a bullet here, and I'm excited about that too. And keep in mind, this is basically SPX's all-time high right here, or within a hair's distance of it. And so we're like right there with SPX. And yesterday it had this big thrust candle indicator, and we've got a green arrow here with green dots, and this sort of shaded structure here, which I want to highlight, is also basically signifying a coiling effect or a volatility squeeze. So this is all a very good sign. With a lot of these assets are showing this, and we're seeing basically, like I said, everything is coiled, everything is ready to launch, and bring it on.
Yeah, SPX looks like it is imminently going to touch that all-time high and blow past it. So yeah, we've been talking about SPX for quite a while now, and every time we look at that chart, I'm always just, I guess I can't be shocked at this point, but I'm just always just kind of in awe, right, of how well it just continues to perform. Like we've said before, it's beyond a meme coin at this point. It's a movement token. So if you're not involved in the movement, well, I don't know what else the chart could tell you. Before we hit on to maybe some other meme coins or some other, other ideas we have in mind, I do want to highlight or mention some little bit of breaking news in our space. Pump Fund has announced that they are launching an initial coin offering on Saturday, July 12th. They have an airdrop coming soon. And as they say, our plan is to kill Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch on Solana. So interesting development from an ecosystem, or from a project that has not without its controversy, one that we thought was shut down, but clearly is not. And it's coming off of the back of that bonk announcement as well. So clearly we've got some competition in the space. We'll see what it can do. But Kris, what are your initial thoughts on where you think Pump will run out the gate? What do you think about that?
I mean, it'll probably blow. I mean, just based on the looks of that video on that announcement alone, it's probably going to be pretty crazy. But no, I mean, I think that it's this space is so weird, and it's gonna run on some level, just because of what it is. And I know it's going to be interesting how it compares to Bonk, because I know Bonk also introduced sort of a Pump.Fun platform competitor, this past week, and it too rallied based off of that news. So it'll be interesting to see how those two perform. But obviously, given the fact that Pump is a brand new token, presumably it's going to have a much, much lower market cap than the likes of Bonk. And so, sure, I mean, it's probably got a chance to rip pretty good. But of course, it's going to be wildly speculative and wildly risky. So it's just, throw some lunch money at it or whatever, and sort of see what happens. But it's for sure to be a wild time.
Yeah, I mean, Pump Fun is literally the meme coin casino. That's like the trenches that everyone talks about. So be wary, But I do agree with you, Kris. I do think that one's going to pump, at least initially. We're going to see a lot of euphoria, and we're going to see a lot of probably mentions on the timeline about it. So if you miss out on that, don't FOMO too much. I guarantee you it'll probably have a dip as well. So yeah, be wary of that. So let's shall we get into some of the trades, some of the charts that you want to look at? I know you have quite a few on your watch list. So maybe we can kind of touch on those before I talk about some of the coins that have my interest, and you won't be surprised what they are.
Sure. So one of the ones that's been kind of catching my eye, we've talked about it maybe on recent shows, is KETA. And initially I thought it looked like it was maybe going to roll over. I was a little wary because, we had seen volume kind of tail off a little bit. We'd seen it, lose this support level that it had set back here, kind of not once, but twice. Like it broke down, it tried to get back up and break above, and then it broke down again. But then suddenly, like in the last, say, 7 days or so, I feel like it's come back on. It's kind of come back to life a little bit. We've seen volume tick back up. Now we're seeing, multiple above average volume days, and we're seeing the moving averages start to roll back up to the upside slightly. We're seeing price break above the 20-day moving average again and sort of restore this uptrend structure. And so I think that maybe this was a bit of a bottoming pattern, and we're seeing, it come back to life a little bit. And in fact, on the day, it's up almost 10%. It was up more than 10%. It's kind of leading my watch list here that I'm looking at the moment. So I think KETA actually looks good it's a decent entry right now. It's kind of a breakout above the support level. So I like what I'm seeing with KETA. I think it's probably a good play. I don't know if it's necessarily like a core position type play, but I think that it's worth a punt. Probably. It just has a good looking chart structure, and I think it held the support, and it looks like it's rounding back up. So I like it.
Very nice. So we do have a question that came in from Stuart Zimble on the platform. Stuart, we already touched on XRP, but he wants us to take a look at SUI and DEEP as well. So maybe we can dive into some of those before we kind of get into some more coins that are further along the risk curve.
Yeah. So looking at SUI, it still doesn't look as good as most other things. It is in the process of running back up, kind of just like the KETA chart we looked at. It did bottom, and it is forming higher highs. But it's still, like on this indicator here, it's got kind of an ugly red track line. It's kind of starting to, this green dot signifies that it is starting to reverse back to the upside a bit, but it's just not showing as much strength, I think, as say even like even Ethereum, for example. Looking at it, here's a perfect contrast. Ethereum, it's broken above its track line. It's got multiple green dots in a row. The track line itself is yellow, meaning it's working its way past the neutral stage and into like more of a green uptrend phase. Whereas if we go back to SUI again, we can see that actually SUI hasn't really even made it back above its track line, and the line is still red. And it's not terrible, but it could be better. Like, it is constructive. You could argue, like if we look at it here just on this other set of indicators briefly, it is holding this trend line, which I do like. This is sort of the positive for me that kind of keeps me coming back to SUI, is the fact that it's been in this longer upward trend line. It did touch it here. It came back, it sort of expanded out and then reverted back, and it has sort of held this trend line basically ever since it came back to it and touched it. And it's touched it multiple times and is just riding along it. And it has sort of reversed the daily trend to the upside. So I do like what I'm seeing. Let me kind of get rid of the Bollinger Bands here for a second to clean up this chart. I do like what I'm seeing. I do like that it's sort of worked its way back up into this bull market support band structure area here. So again, it's constructive. It's good. It's just not as good as some of the other assets that we're tracking in the space. But it's also like, don't pull the plug. I wouldn't say sell it or run away, or that it's going to bleed out and it's going away. And nothing like that at all. Like, ultimately, I think it'll end up where it needs to be. I think it's just sort of lagging behind in the moment.
Yeah, and honestly, I was going to say that too. No, not a cause for alarm just yet. I think if you're holding on to SUI as a core position within your portfolio, stay the course. I think the fact that ETH is showing signs of a breakout and really showing signs of strength is kind of brings me back to something that we've talked about pretty often on our show here, is that ETH breaking out just means kind of game on for alt season. So I think that ETH breakout would actually make me, as pretty bullish on my Solana position as well, because I have a feeling that when ETH breaks out, these other stronger altcoins are going to follow, like the SUIs, the Solanas, so on and so forth. So
I think so too. Exactly.
And let's just take a quick look at Deep as well to round Stuart's question.
Yep. Let's see, Deep. Deep actually, I think, looks a little bit better. You can see it's a similar structure here, where it's kind of got this a bit of this trend line going down from the bottom, and it's sort of riding right along the same line, which is not surprising because it's essentially a SUI ecosystem token, but very, very similar structure to the SUI chart. Only you can see it's arguably a little bit better because it's already above its bull market support band, and it's flipped this trend, this daily trend upwards, and it's sort of holding support on its 10-day moving average. So Deep actually structurally looks better than SUI does. And again, no reason to get rid of Deep either for the same reason. I think if you're holding SUI and you're holding Deep, they both look good, and they're both again, maybe lagging behind some other stuff. Sure, they're not SPX or whatever. They're not syrup right now, but that doesn't mean that they're done or they're cooked at all by any stretch. And so I think that they're continuing to track with the rest of the market and honestly look fine.
Fantastic. Thank you for the question, Stuart. Okay, so you mentioned syrup. Was that one of the ones on your watch list that we were gonna touch on? Chart?
It's not, but we can let's look at syrup. Actually, I do want to. Well, let's touch on it because what I talked about on our Monday show with syrup is I think that syrup actually is due for a bit of a correction. I think that syrup got a little bit overheated. I think that the initial fundamental sort of influx of capital that drove this major rally in syrup hasn't continued. We haven't seen continuation of that money coming into the ecosystem. And so I think that this rally is starting to lose steam. And we can see it even in the moving averages, plain as day. Like, sure, it was in this really strong upward trajectory till about this initial first peak. And then the moving averages have basically started to roll over ever since then. And now finally they're crossing over the 10-day is crossing over the 20 down below. We're starting to see volume kind of level off. I think if you kick on like some of these momentum indicators, like the RSI, we can see a bearish divergence on the RSI. Basically what we're looking at by that is you can see initial highs here, and then it's basically just set lower highs. So as price has continued to move upwards, we're seeing momentum continue to move downwards, basically, and the moving average on the RSI is moving down. So this is also telling us that basically this rally effectively peaked back here on like May 24th. And yes, price has gone higher, but the momentum died at that point. And you're seeing it too with like this MACD indicator here too. So I don't know. We need to see another sort of narrative shift, I think, with syrup for it to be able to sustain this price action, and we're not seeing that yet. So I would say don't get into syrup right now until you start to see more money coming in to that ecosystem to continue to drive that price, basically. But yeah, I'm not liking syrup. One of the ones I did want to touch on, though, was useless because it's sort of funny. It's this meme coin that everybody's been talking about, and everybody's like, oh, I can't get in. I'm waiting for a dip. I can't, and I think we got our dip here. Basically, we got 2 daily red candles. We got, if you look here, essentially a perfect touch on the 20-day moving average, which I often say in our Monday shows. If you're ever looking for an entry on a chart like this, just wait for a 20-day moving average touch. And it's funny, we got that perfectly. So this was the buying opportunity right here. And I think if you missed it, you missed it. And the reason I still think it's a strong buying opportunity is if you look at this volume, highest volume yet today out of this whole run. So clearly the momentum hasn't waned at all.
Wow.
And it was like blink and you miss it, basically, in terms of the buy level. It's like if you didn't already have an order on the books at this 20-day moving average, then you missed your entry, and it's right back up to the all-time highs, basically. And so funny chart, but one that's really just got the legs behind it at the moment.
Yeah, speaking of momentum, that chart is like almost the volume chart is almost the opposite of syrup. It's
right
trending up, just like in a beautiful crescendo. Whereas the other syrup was just trending down, just exact opposite way. So love that volume.
Right.
Definitely going to take a look at useless myself actually after this. I missed the buying opportunity, but I'm a
Right.
DJ. I buy high and I sell low. It's just what I do, guys. But so I wanted to talk about some tokens
Yeah.
myself, because one narrative that's just like I've been getting increasingly bullish on are just the community tokens that have been coming out from some of these great ecosystems that we've seen. So first one I want to touch on is Pangu. I'm going to go down like in order from market cap. So Pengu has over a $900 million market cap right now. They have a 19B4 filing. They rang the bell on Wall. The Penguin rang the bell on Wall Street. They have partnerships with big brands. They just have an incredible social presence as well. I think they get like 500 million like views on their social, from whether that's on Instagram, Twitter, and then they have a very expansive GIF ecosystem as well that people are using. So another thing, I saw a tweet from somebody as well. I can't remember who it was that popped up on my timeline, so I'm sorry if I can't give you credit for it, but they were basically talking about the 19B4 filing that Pengu had, and said to compare that Pengu's market cap to the market caps of the other coins that have the 19B4 filing, and basically was just saying much higher for Pengu. So yeah, Pengu was the only one that was under $1 billion market cap, and the others were like 6, 7, $15 billion market caps with those filings. So definitely one to keep on your radar as well.
I'm quite
I
intrigued
noticed you
about this
brought
one.
up the chart as well.
Yeah.
So what can we see from that?
Well, one of the big things is the bull market support band. Both of the moving averages are pointed to the upside, and I know it's a bit of a newer chart, so it's not going to have a huge band with a lot of price history. But the fact that both bands are moving to the upside, and the price itself is well above it is really strong. Also, this is the Binance chart, and I really love the volume I'm seeing on here. I mean, it's stayed steady, and it had a big peak in this recent run up here. So like you said, it's got tons of attention. It's got massive trading volume, huge amount of holders. I mean, in part because they did a big airdrop, but still, just lots of attention with this token right now. And I'm actually quite intrigued personally on this one. Like I'm leaning towards getting a position here personally because it's got legs for sure. Like I said, tons of trading volume, easy access on all the major tier 1 exchanges. And it's got this whole world going on with the NFTs, like you said, with all the merchandise, and it's very popular outside of even just like the crypto space. It's well beyond just a meme token at this point, and it's definitely worth paying attention to for sure.
Yeah, Pengu just continues to just really just defy expectations for what an NFT community is. So yeah, definitely wanted to give a shout out to that coin, and it's still under $1 billion market cap, right? So definitely still a nice entry as well. So next coin I want to mention is rekt. We've talked about it quite a few times. This one is at 150 million market cap, or just above that. So obviously rekt has a lot going on as well. They have obviously the rekt guys, they have the rekt drinks. Mando and OSF are kind of staples of our space, right? Even though the drink space is competitive, if you do like even have mild success, you can break out, you can just have an incredible trajectory within that space. So one thing Nico was actually, we were talking in a meeting yesterday, and Nico mentioned how Poppy, the prebiotic soda company, they sold to Pepsi for nearly $2 billion. So that's kind of like where you can go. And Poppy's not like super, I mean, obviously they're, pretty popular, but they're only 10 years old. And they just had wild success and ended up selling off to PepsiCo. But one thing I like about rekt is kind of the way they do things, right? I think they stand out. They have pretty unique flavors, right? They have like some sour apple flavor involved with it. They use agave sweeteners in there. That's not something that's typically used in seltzers that aren't like hard seltzers or like spiked seltzers. So that's an interesting little product tweak, if you will, that they offer. A little bit of I've never tried it, so I can't really speak to it, but I do love agave syrup and things, and a very natural sweetener. Not chilling rekt drinks, right? But I do think the way they do their sales with like these limited edition drops is a really cool way to do their sales and drum up FOMO kind of for their next drop and next drop. So they're kind of like creating an event around their drops that they then sell out in record time. And then obviously they use that to go back into their rekt ecosystem. So for all those reasons, I'm just really bullish on rekt. And I see, Kris, you've also brought up the rekt chart as well. So what do we see here?
Yeah, the chart looks great. I mean, it's inches away from price discovery, basically. And nothing bad to say about this chart at all. It's probably outpacing most of the things that I could find. Sure, it's down on the day a little bit, but it's had a nice week. It's up. I mean, just over the last since the weekend. What are we looking at here? 38%. So I'll take that. I've actually got a little tiny chunk of this. I took a punt on it, a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I think it's a great looking chart, great product. We love the rekt guys, of course, and so I'm rooting for them, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Pangu, obviously they're not. I don't want to compare them like for like, but they are NFT communities that have created a community coin and do have some utility behind those coins. But Pangu's market cap, just under $1 billion here, whereas rekt is kind of a little bit over 100 million market cap. So, I use that kind of as a barometer of where rekt could go, right? It still kind of feels like it still has like a, 8 to 9x in it to just hit Pangu's market cap. So,
yeah, absolutely. I love really low cap ones like these because obviously it takes so much less to sort of move the needle, and so they can just really rip a lot easier than some of those other ones can. And so, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, and then the last one I will shout out briefly here is Grind, which is Abstract's premier meme coin. It's currently sitting under 3 million market cap, so definitely very low market cap. Really, you're going down the risk curve on this. But it's a new community token. It's a diamond-handed community. They did a lot of collaborative airdrops with it, with strategically selecting other communities as well that have kind of proven that they can hold onto their assets, and they drop them coins as well. I think if you give it some time, you'll start to see this one grow a little more organically. Like I said, it's the premier coin on Abstract, and kind of everything that I said about the penguins, right? It is true for Abstract as well, right? So if you think penguins or the pudgy penguins are going to get bigger, you think Pangu is going to rise, then so will Abstract. And I think Grind as the premier token on memecoin, at least on Abstract, will just benefit from the growth of Abstract and the pudgy penguins in general. A few other things they do is they partner with the Slingshot wallet, which will use fees that are generated from buying Grind on Slingshot will then be used to buy back Grind token as well. And then they have a very cool info-fi concept going on with Grind to boost awareness and reward the community that kind of interacts with the ecosystem. So definitely some interesting stuff. And Kris, you've got the chart up. What can we tell there?
Well, the only thing I want to say about this chart is it's a brand new token, or relatively new, and so this is actually just the hourly chart because there's not enough price history to even show a daily. So don't put too much weight into what you're seeing here. It looks like it could be potentially an ugly downtrend, but really this is fine for such a new token, honestly. And so in a sense, you can't really even glean a whole lot of insight from it, from a technical standpoint, because it's so new. But I like the fact that even just in the last 24 hours, it's only down, 4.8%. It's got, decent volume, and yeah, honestly, I think it looks fine. So yeah.
Awesome. We have a question coming in about an ecosystem, Kris, that you're pretty familiar with. So Andy from Twitter wants to know, interested to know your thoughts on Tau. Is this coming back and ready?
Let's take a look at Tau. Yeah, I haven't looked at it in a minute, so in fact, I want to kind of zoom out on Tau a little bit and look at the weekly chart and see what we got here. It's funny, Tau effectively is just coiling sideways for quite some time, really. I mean, it's been stuck in this sideways range all the way back to the beginning of 2024 even. And then the center, it's basically been in the center of the range, for all of this time too. I'm curious what it looks like on this other indicator real quick. Let me see here. I do like the project fundamentally, just to kind of comment on that. I think that it's a strong project. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, sort of AI infrastructure play for me personally, if you ask me. I know others might disagree, but I think it's fundamentally going to be very strong. It's not going anywhere. The question is, how high could it possibly go? And I think that it's just been tracking with the rest of the market, basically not really outpacing anything, but also not doing necessarily any worse either. It's just been sort of going sideways along with everything else. And I do think that eventually it will get back up to its all-time highs here. I couldn't give you a price target necessarily. It's really going to be up to what type of sort of frenzy we see with the latter stages of the 4-year cycle. So I don't know, but I do like that their ecosystem continues to develop, continues to grow at a very rapid pace. There's tons of new developments with the new DTAO ecosystem and how all of the subnets have their own individual tokens now that you can be trading. There's like a full-on DeFi ecosystem on the BitTensor blockchain now, which I think is really, really cool and actually really exciting to go over there and engage with that. So the Tau isn't going anywhere. And I think its price is strong right now. It does look, just kind of looking at just sort of the daily, what we're seeing, it's not as good as some of the other stuff we're seeing. It's not quite as strong as the likes of, say, XRP or even ETH or SPX and things like that, or Hype for that matter. But again, it's not really worse either. It's just sort of plodding along. I put it kind of in a similar category as I would say SUI or even Solana in this moment, in that like it's fine. It'll be there. It's not going anywhere. And it's probably a solid, like for me, Tau is maybe more of like what I would feel comfortable having a more of a core position in, because I know it's not going to be super volatile. I know it's not going to just disappear tomorrow. It's relatively low risk compared to some of the newer kind of more mimetic projects. It's got very, very established fundamentals, but also it's not going to necessarily do a 20x from here either, but it's a good, stable thing to kind of have as part of a balanced portfolio. So that's sort of where I would categorize the Tau token right now.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like you said, in terms of AI infrastructure plays, right? I think you'd kind of be hard pressed to find something more recognizable and just,
right,
safe to hold than Tau in this. And I like that Tau is also not just a layer one that just boasts, hey, we're just faster than the next guys that just came out. It's actually like it has a different use case, and it's in a very bullish overall narrative, right? AI space. We've been talking about that forever and saying this is part of the exponential age. So thank you for the question.
It's
Andy.
Probably one of the most unique projects in the space, honestly, with just the way the whole chain is structured and the incentive mechanisms and the way it all works. It's really fascinating and very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Stuart, actually, I think Stuart might be interested in buying rekt. He wanted to know where the best place to get rekt is. So rekt is an ETH coin, right? So I would say look on Uniswap for it. And
if I'm not mistaken, it trades on Base. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, right.
Which I mean is effectively ETH. You just bridge it over to Base. But yeah, just it's your same ETH address. You can buy it on chain with Uniswap, just like you were saying, Bijan. But just it's on the Base blockchain and as opposed to ETH directly. But yeah,
Stuart, if you have any questions or you want to like kind of run through that, just hop into our Discord and we can talk you through so you don't buy the wrong one or do it not on Base and then not have any rekt.
Don't get wrecked.
Yeah, don't get wrecked. So that's going to kind of do it for us today. We're coming up on time, but Kris, I want to throw it to you. Any other charts that you think should be on our radar or anything you're kind of looking to take into next week or in the weekend before our Monday show?
I'm really just, glued to this Bitcoin chart, hoping that we pop above and break this level here. This alert, I have an alert set at 110,651, which is the initial cycle high that was set back on Monday the 9th. So I'm waiting for that. I'm hoping my phone pops me an alert saying, hey, new high, new cycle high. And then I'll be like, okay, we're good. We're on, let's do this.
All right, guys, let's hope for Kris's phone to ping. Let's hope we get that new cycle high. Let's hope ETH breaks out so that alt season can really have game on. Yes. And if you have any questions, as always, just let us know. And we'll be back next week on Wednesday. And of course, we'll be back on Monday for our live TA show in Discord. Until next time, don't get wrecked and don't fuck this up.